Good morning everybody and welcome to New Botany, and I've come back once again to this site at Netherfield Lagoons, and I've come on this day, which is the 20th of June, because I believe there'll be the most number of wildflowers to find, and that's not always the case in May and July. And I've come back today looking specifically for 3 plants that I found here 3 years ago and haven't been able to find again. And those plants are Maiden pink, spotted orchids, particularly white ones, and also pyramidal orchids, which I found in some numbers. They should all be here and they should all be in flower. Of course, if there are other plants of interest here, I will film them for you. And I can see maybe it's a spotted orchid. It might be a bit late for a marsh orchid. Maybe it's a spotted orchid down there. But I'm not going to nip over the fence because the fence is a bit difficult to navigate. But maybe it is a spotted orchid. And coming up on the side of the path here, we start to see the first large clumps of common centauries. And I said I wouldn't mention these, but I love these plants so much, and I think everyone should grow them in their garden, but they don't. Centaurum erythrea. They're absolutely phenomenal plants to have anywhere, really. And they're really common here. Great to see them again in such large numbers. And this is a nice grassy area where one might expect to find orchids, but there are certainly interesting plants here. This is Agrimonia eupatorium, I think, and it's in full bloom here, and there are a lot of them. It's not what I would call a particularly common plant, but in chalky areas you find quite a lot of it. Well, there are orchids here. You can see them, but I'm not sure what kind they are, and I'm not climbing over the fence. There are quite a few. I sort of hope as I walk along here that some of these orchids will have escaped from behind the fences onto the side of the path here, but that never seems to happen. Why that is, I don't know, but there's certainly no evidence of any kinds of orchids growing along the side of the path. Very sad about that. Now here's a fence I might be tempted to jump over because it's a bit lower, but there's no orchids to see here. No orchids at all, but on the side of the path here, because it's not been cut down, some of the most wonderfully coloured wildflowers are growing at their best height, like these self-heal Prunella vulgaris, of course, which has a great reputation as a healing herb in the Middle Ages. I think probably extracts of this plant are found in herbalist medications in shops. I've never tried it myself, but it's renowned as a wound herb, and you'd guess that from its name, self-heal. If you take self-heal, you heal yourself, and I think that's quite an appropriate name for this plant. It's great to see it here. We've got a fantastic display of rose bay willow herbs here at their very best, just before they've started setting seed. This plant is either called Camerian or Epilobium. I prefer to call it Epilobium because I can spell that word. Epilobium angustifolium. Now I'm coming to the place where I found Maiden pinks, Dianthus deltoides, about 3 years ago, and every time I've been since then I've hoped to find it, but there's no sight of or sound of it at all. And I'm hoping, because I've picked a good day, that it will be here in flower once again, maybe in the same place as I found it before. We'll see. One thing for sure, if it is growing here, I'm bound to find it, because its colour is incredibly bright, pink or red even. And if it's here, it should stand out like a sore thumb. That is, of course, if the flowers are open. We'll see. The only flowers in the meadow in any abundance are bird's foot trefoil and oxeye daisy, with a few knapweeds and centauries thrown in where the soil is a bit more bare. Can't see anything else here. The thing is about Maiden Pink is it's a perennial, so it should remain here on site if conditions are favourable for it. And no sign of it yet. Plenty of St John's worts appearing. They're looking really nice. It's always good to see St John's wort, and of course plants do hide underneath tall St John's worts. Well, sadly no Maiden Pinks as yet, but what do I spy over the fence? I've seen something that definitely I've not seen in this meadow before, and I'm very tempted to climb over the fence to film it. I just wonder if it's visible there. There it is. See that patch of pink? That to me has a very distinct appearance of pyramidal orchid. So guess what? I'm going to nip over the fence and film it. Yes, my eyes did not deceive me. The very distinctive pink of pyramidal orchids and the pyramidal shape of the flower head gives you a very good indication of when you have a pyramidal orchid. And you can see there the three-lobed lips of the flower. This one is just opening, and I'm very excited really, because I haven't seen pyramidal orchids on this meadow before. Maybe there are a lot more, but it's fantastic to see this one. And my eyesight did not prove me wrong. I am long-sighted, so I can pick up orchids at quite a distance, especially with these unique colours. So that's the first of my 3 target plants that I've picked up. I do expect to, I don't believe it. There it is. Maiden Pink, just growing by the side of the fence there. Wow. Look at that. Dianthus deltoides. It doesn't, there's probably a couple of plants here. The flowers are very distinctive, you can't miss them. It's not Deptford Pink. Deptford Pink is an annual, whereas this is growing in more or less the same place as it has done for a number of years, I assume. I've just come at the wrong time, but here it is. And there are probably, say, half a dozen plants here. I'll keep an eye out for any more that I come across. So, target plant 2 found. I can tick that off my list. What a wonderful find again. And I've never seen this plant anywhere before growing wild, and it is a rarity in Britain. I think many people haven't seen it. I think it's commoner in the south, so, and also on chalky areas, so you're more likely to find it there. But what a wonderful find. That's Maiden Pink, Dianthus deltoides, and you can see a number of them growing over the fence also. So I'll be keeping a lookout for more Maiden Pinks. That one, although that group was growing in exactly the same place that they were before, I think, so it makes sense that they've survived, but they haven't spread very far, so I'll be keeping a lookout for them as I walk along the rest of this path. My next target plant to find is common spotted orchid. I may have seen some of those earlier, but I wasn't brave enough to go over the fence. But I know where they grow, and they should be there. And on the other side of the path, on the bank, there should be more pyramidal orchids. In fact, quite a large number of pyramidal orchids, if my memory serves me correctly. And I do think that orchids are found in greater numbers this year. I do think there's an increasing Mediterranean climate in this country that orchids are capitalising upon, and they are increasing in numbers. That's certainly true of the bee orchid. I can't say that's necessarily true of other orchids, but we'll find out in a while how the common spotted orchids and the large group pyramidal orchids are doing. But the meadow is really beautiful at this time. Haven't seen any more pyramidals in here, I don't think. It's all bird's foot trefoil and oxeye daisy. Still looks beautiful though. Oh, and with knapweed in there too, which might fool you for being orchids if you don't know exactly the shape of an orchid flower structure. Just to let you know, this screenplay has not been edited. I haven't spliced different parts of the video together. So you've had a real-time response to my reactions of finding plants, and I'm going to continue. I'm not going to re-edit this video, so you get a full idea of what it's been like to do this plant hunting today. Well, here is the spotted orchid bed. And once again, I would have to climb over a fence to get close to them. And this fence is really tight. And there are more spotted orchids over here. I don't think this fence is here particularly to protect the orchids. It's protect people from falling into the lagoons, which are just beyond the hedges there. The lagoons are quite dangerous. This is about the location I came a few years ago to discover pyramidal orchids in some numbers, and the centauries are a bit deceptive because they're about the same colour as pyramidal orchids, but the pyramidal orchid is visible from its very distinctive inflorescence, which is in the shape of a pyramid. I haven't seen any pyramidal orchids yet. I mean, oxeye daisies are swamping everything. But here's another pyramidal orchid behind the fence. Again, with its distinctive floral structure, with 3 lobes and the pyramidal flower head shape. This one's quite easy to film. No vigorous climbing for this one. All these clumps of centauries do fool you into thinking that you're seeing orchids, and they're very good at it. Yet what have I found here? A number of pyramidal orchids hiding amongst the centauries, and I wonder if it's some kind of protective method that they use. There we go, more on Anacamptis Morio. Oh, can't get the focus on it. There we are. That's a good one. And these plants are still small. They're hiding in the undergrowth, quite long undergrowth, knapweed, St John's wort, oxeye daisy, but they're definitely here. And there are a number of them. They're not quite as well developed as the plants on the other side, but I'll try and capture a couple of them, because there's probably about half a dozen here. Beautiful things, and hiding so effectively amongst the centauries. Yeah, these are all small plants with small flower heads, and I suspect it's because they're growing in shaded undergrowth. But they are at the same location as when I came about 3 years ago, so they've not lost out. Maybe there's not as many as there were. Yeah, all these pyramidal orchids look very similar, and I would say smaller than usual, but I think that's because they're almost overgrown and there's brambles growing around them as well. So they're doing really well to survive and grow here, I think. So I'm really pleased. I've seen all 3 of the target plants, and it just proves that if you come at the right day, if you're trying to replicate a visit, it's important that you come on around the same day the next year as you came before, and I think you're almost certain to find what you're looking for, and that's proved the case this year. Anyway, this is Netherfield Lagoons. Goodbye from the Centauries and the St John's Worts, and goodbye from me. Thanks for watching. Oh, please like and subscribe. I'd be really grateful for that. Thank you.